Indie games are something I don't discuss too often, as I normally stick to the big releases in the gaming world, but there are definitely exceptions. I love games that can tell an impactful story and make me truly feel something by combining cinematic elements and great gameplay, and this is usually achieved through creating a game like God of War 2018 or The Last of Us, which combine linear, high-quality gameplay with intense cutscenes that feel pulled right out of a movie. There are games, however, that defy all odds and tell an equally impactful and brilliant story by other means, and one of these is, without a doubt, Undertale. Last year I reviewed Sayonara Wild Hearts, a game with a great, though very subtle and unconventionally conveyed narrative, but Undertale is much more clearly story-driven, while also being so wildly different from everything else out there. It uses a pixel art style that feels pulled right out of the NES era, though with many additions and beautiful effects and colors that help it stand out from the million other games using a similar graphical style. It does feel very inspired by classic RPGs of the time, and though I'm by no means a fan of those, it doesn't mean Undertale falls into the same trappings gameplay-wise. We have so many creative and memorable character designs that usually use a rather puny number of colors and blocky designs to form a cast of truly unforgettable characters. But what really makes these characters so memorable is the way that they're written. Undertale has one of the funniest casts of wacky individuals I've seen in a video game, with so many memorable jokes that reach into the realm of randomness while still having a grounded basis. I often despise when humor is just being weird for the sake of being weird, but Undertale strikes an outstanding balance between that and legitimate, clever comedy. I'll never forget Papyrus's admirable though loud expressiveness, Sans' relaxed nature and cheesy puns, Mettaton's incredible humanity despite being a robot, or any of the other, smaller characters that I encountered along the way, because every single one has a unique design, clever lines, and a lovable personality. I find it infinitely hilarious how this game, in which every other character is non-human, has far more naturalistic dialogue and realistic writing in general than every other RPG I've played, many of which involved human characters. In Undertale, it doesn't matter what kind of bizarre thing they are, a skeleton, a monster, a giant cow, they act like people, and the connections you build with them are nothing if not indicative of humanity. More generally, this game just knocks it out of the park in terms of the story. It lures you into an incredibly diverse, visionary world with so many unique facets within it. From the opening cutscene, you can see a lot of passion was put into making this stand apart from any other video game world. So not only does it give you a lot to admire with memorable characters, locations, and gags, but it can't be understated how much of an emotional impact this game can have at the same time. I just mentioned how funny it is, but there are many reveals and twists that will tug at your heartstrings, and the revelations sprinkled throughout flesh out this brilliant world even further. There's one moment specifically near the end in which everything comes together as you venture through a faded, distant memory of your previous experiences, and the true story of everything around you is told in one beautiful, harmonious act by the many different foes you've faced. Undertale does an exceptional job of bringing you back, of giving you something to connect with multiple times in its short runtime. That's yet another impressive thing about it. This game is insanely short and yet has one of the best video game stories ever, without ever shoving too much dialogue in your face, so the pacing is really effective too. Your experiences from the very start of the game come full circle, and it's important to pay attention to how everyone grows and develops. The connections built with all of these crazy faces are beautiful and lead to so many amazing moments, many of which you won't even experience if you don't take the time to go off on your own path, such as meeting Papyrus in his house and seeing how eager he is to have a true friend, showing off everything he holds dear like an excited child. It's those personalities and the way they tragically feel as if they're transitioning from the present to the past, those moments that you don't want to be a memory, that you aren't going through anymore, those characters you wish you could still have by your side. And it's so heavily based on player choice that your regrets, your favorite and least favorite times build within your consciousness until you truly must take a step back and understand the legitimate reverberations of all your actions. For example, when I first played it, I was heartbroken and shocked to have accidentally killed Toriel at the beginning, but this time around I used that as a reminder. I killed her again, though it was still sad, but made sure to be extra careful with everyone else, slightly altering how everything ended up being. Specifically, once you get to the end and see your house in black and white, now just a distant reminder of the start of your journey, it sticks with you, and I didn't want to lose that amazing moment of reflection, even if it meant sparing a character that I liked. It's important to experience what you truly want to experience in Undertale, and to carve your own path forward, as no matter what transpires, you'll always have those memories to look back upon. And the beautiful symphony of strange voices coming together unites all of the fragmented thoughts you may have, all the seemingly disconnected and bizarre moments of the game, until they become one. But enough with the story and visuals, let's talk about what you all want to discuss. The gameplay. I bet anyone familiar with how I respond to games is sitting here thinking, I'll begin to change my tune here. I mean, it is a turn-based RPG. How could I not? Well, shockingly, I love the gameplay of Undertale. I'm normally not a fan of this gameplay style whatsoever, but I must admit this takes everything about it that could work and creates something truly beautiful out of it. Rather than just tapping on a few moves over and over in a boring, outdated charade of luck and numbers, you have to move around a very tight space to avoid attacks in a very intense dance of combat. You'll need to swerve all around to prevent getting absolutely annihilated when your heart is red, and they introduce so many different movement patterns for the unique attacks of different enemies. But wait, there's more. Your heart can also change colors. For example, when it's purple, you're forced to hop between a few rows and dash between the onslaught of attacks sliding down your way. When it's green, you have a shield that you have to twist around as arrows come in different directions, and when it's yellow, it becomes like a strange version of a shoot-'em-up game. So much variety with every encounter. That's a big thing in Undertale's favor. It never gets stale or boring, and they put the combat to great use around every corner. I cannot find anything to complain about with it. But I want to end off by talking about this game's true greatest achievement: the music. Just like with Sayonara Wild Hearts, the game is fun to play with lots of variety and has a compelling story, unique visuals, and a beautiful world, but the soundtrack makes all of that seem like it doesn't even matter. Undertale's soundtrack is like one massive tree with so many weird, disfigured branches that all look weird and different in isolation. But if you zoom out, you'll see how they all come together beautifully. The tone is wild, going from incredibly motivational, almost power ballad type songs to peaceful ambiance, funny little noises, and epic battle tracks, and yet it all feels welded together with masterful precision. Toby Fox has outdone himself with the OST here. It's one of the single best in all of gaming. It doesn't matter if some tracks overshadow the rest. When you're actually playing, they fit this beautiful, weird, oddball game perfectly, whether it's making you laugh, think back on a nice memory, or cry tears of joy at the end of an unforgettable journey. The music, story, and gameplay of Undertale stay with you like a reliable companion through and through, and I absolutely adore it. 5 out of 5, my second favorite indie game of all time.